The biggest stories of the week. Amber, Aaron, please watch the clip and tell me what is the story.
This is Pam Bondi testifying about Epstein, and she talked and talked and talked and didn't say shit.
The story is Pam Bondi and Trump's Department of Justice. The DOJ has America saying WTF, and it all starts with a certain PDF file full of PDF files. On Wednesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi appeared before the House Judiciary Committee to answer questions about her handling of the Epstein files, and Bondi was nothing but a professional.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people. You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
I'm talking.
No.
I'm
if they're
talking.
not privileged,
Quiet.
Don't yell at me. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once when he was.
Weak sauce.
And also.
All right, guys, Adam is here. So this happening right now, she was supposed to be one of his most loyal soldiers. Handpicked, trusted, a true believer who would walk through fire for Donald Trump and never flinch. And then Pam Bondi sat down in front of Congress, opened her mouth, and the entire Republican Party watched in real time as everything she said started unraveling the man who put her in that chair.
It has been a significant week in the chase for truth and justice in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. A Trump cabinet official admitted to being on the pedophile's island after lying about it. Ghislaine Maxwell floated a quid pro quo promising to clear Donald Trump and Bill Clinton if she is granted clemency. Republicans began to see the unredacted files only to find even more redactions. And the Justice Department spied on those lawmakers making searches, something that caused even Speaker Mike Johnson to condemn the administration. And speaking of the DOJ, Pam Bondi acted more like a campaign surrogate than the Attorney General. She refused to answer basic questions about her handling of this case and of the files.
Indicted.
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you. I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I
anything
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up.
what you did in the
Who's
Senate.
a lawyer? Not even a lawyer.
Trump saw it happen. Trump watched it live. And what came after? The screaming, the threats, the frantic calls, the social media explosions. Told you everything you need to know about a president who is not just losing a news cycle. He is losing his party, piece by piece, Republican by Republican, election by election. And he knows it. That is why he is losing his mind right now.
Pam Bondi, please.
Thank you, President Trump. You know, some people choose to tolerate crime, but you chose law and order. And that's why this task force worked. It was all of us, as Gowdy said, working hand in hand with my FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, ATF, with Cash, with Terry, with Rob, with Gaddy. Not only that, with Pete, with Department of War, with Homeland Security, with all of my agencies working hand in hand with the National Guard. When you went out there, when we came to Memphis, you could not tell who was with what agency because everyone was working so well together. Our U.S. Attorney, Mike Donovan, was out there. And not only does everyone needs to know, we met with this president multiple times about this endeavor.
Because here is the thing that makes this moment bigger than just Bondi, bigger than just one hearing, bigger than just one bad week. What is happening inside the Republican Party right now is not a political disagreement. It is not a messaging problem. It is not something a rally or a true social rant can fix. It is a full-scale civil war, quiet in some places, loud in others, but real and spreading and accelerating. And it is tearing the GOP apart from the inside, while Trump stands in the middle of it, throwing gasoline on every single fire. Let's be clear about who is doing the talking here, because this matters enormously. We are not talking about Democrats. We are not talking about liberal commentators on cable news finding new reasons to criticize Trump. We are talking about Republicans, real ones, longtime loyalists, party insiders who spent years defending Trump on television, in committee hearings, in campaign fundraisers, in primary endorsements. people who built their entire political identities around standing with him. Those same people, those specific people, are now saying, openly and on the record, that the party needs to find a way to move past him, that his brand is becoming a serious electoral liability, that the numbers do not work anymore, that Trump needs to go. That is the story. And it is enormous. Here is what is actually happening on the ground right now and why it matters so much. Trump has been pushing his Iran war policy hard. He has been escalating on the world stage, making aggressive moves, beating his chest, doing everything his instincts tell him to do when he wants to look strong. And it is costing Republicans in real elections, actual races. Districts that Trump used to carry by 20 or 30 points are suddenly competitive. Special elections in territory that should be safe Republican ground are getting uncomfortably close. Margins that used to be comfortable are shrinking. And in every exit poll, every piece of post-election analysis, every strategic assessment coming out of Republican campaign offices, the diagnosis is the same. Trump's brand is the problem. Trump's war policy is driving voters away. Trump is costing Republicans elections they should be winning, and everyone inside the party knows it. Elise Stefanik, and pay attention to who this is because it matters, is not some moderate Republican. She is not a Reno. She is not a critic. She is one of the most reliably MAGA figures in the entire House of Representatives, someone who has bent herself into a pretzel defending Trump through every controversy, every scandal, every impeachment. And Stefanik has now publicly said that House Republicans are underperforming in ways they have not seen during the entire Trump era. That is not a throwaway comment. That is a hardcore loyalist standing up and saying out loud what everyone in the party has been whispering privately, that the emperor has a problem and pretending otherwise is not going to fix it. When someone like Stefanik says it, it gives every other Republican permission to say it too. It signals that acknowledging the problem is no longer political suicide. It signals that maybe, just maybe, the loyalty calculus is starting to shift. And the GOP strategists and insiders behind the scenes are not speaking in gentle euphemisms anymore. They are describing what they are seeing as flashing red lights. They are calling Trump a significant liability, not an asset, not a rallying point, not the key to electoral victory, but a liability, a drag on the ticket, a weight around the neck of every candidate running under the Republican banner in competitive territory. They are saying the Iran war is costing them votes directly. They are saying war-driven inflation is destroying the party's relationship with working-class voters who used to be reliable Republican support. They are saying Trump's style, the chaos, the rage, the unpredictability, is alienating suburban women and college-educated voters who drifted toward Republicans but are now drifting back out. The numbers, as these strategists keep saying, do not lie. And the numbers are telling a story that is very bad for Trump. So what does Trump do when Republicans start saying these things? When his own people start voicing concerns? When the cracks start appearing in the wall of loyalty he spent years building? He does exactly what he has always done. He attacks. He goes on True Social and tears into anyone who dares question him. He calls them disloyal. He calls them traitors to the base. He promises to destroy their careers. He threatens them with primary challenges. He says they are the reason Republicans are failing. Not him, never him, always someone else. And that meltdown, that rage spiral, that visceral inability to tolerate any dissent is doing more damage to him than any critic from the outside ever could. Because when Trump lashes out at Republicans for acknowledging that he has a problem, he is not solving the problem. He is proving it. He is demonstrating in real time for every wavering Republican watching that he is unstable, that he is vindictive, that he uses fear and the threat of political destruction to control people who are supposed to be his colleagues and allies. And every time he does it, more Republicans quietly decide that they need to find an exit before he drags them down with him. This is the trap that Trump has built for himself. His entire power structure inside the Republican Party has always rested on two foundations: the loyalty of his base and the fear he generates in Republican politicians. For years, those two things worked together perfectly. The base was enthusiastic enough that crossing Trump meant facing an angry primary challenge. The fear was potent enough that even Republicans who privately had doubts kept their mouths shut and their hands raised when he needed them. The system held. But systems held together by fear have a breaking point. And the breaking point comes when the fear of Trump starts competing with the fear of losing. When Republican politicians look at the polling in their districts and start doing the math, and the math tells them that sticking with Trump is not the safe play anymore, that the real threat to their survival is not a primary from the right, but a general election loss driven by voters who cannot stomach Trump's brand. When that calculation flips, when self-preservation starts pointing away from Trump rather than toward him, the fear starts to erode. The loyalty starts to crack. And that is what is happening now. Not everywhere at once. Not in a clean, dramatic break. But piece by piece, district by district, conversation by conversation. Republicans are starting to imagine what life after Trump looks like. And some of them are saying it out loud. Some Republicans are openly hinting that maybe Trump should not be the party's standard-bearer going forward. Some are suggesting that a different candidate in the next cycle might give the party better odds. Some are having conversations, still cautious, still hedged, but real conversations, about building a Republican Party that is not entirely dependent on one man's moods and decisions and Twitter feed. And that is genuinely new. For years, Trump's grip on the Republican primary was so absolute that imagining a post-Trump GOP felt like fantasy. Now it is a real discussion being had by real people inside the party structure. Trump can feel it. That much is obvious from how he is responding. He is not just reacting to specific critics. He is running systematic purge campaigns against Republicans who are not sufficiently loyal. His people are running primary challenges. His operation is running smear campaigns. His allies are making explicit threats. The intimidation infrastructure is working overtime, and it is working overtime precisely because the control is slipping and the desperation is setting in. And here is the cruel irony at the heart of all of this. The more aggressively Trump purges and threatens, the more he accelerates the very process he is trying to stop. Every time he attacks a Republican for showing any independence, he reinforces the point that the critics are making, that Trump is unstable, vindictive, and incapable of the kind of political coalition building that actually wins elections. Every time he goes on a rage spiral over internal party criticism, he validates the concern. Every purge makes the remaining Republicans more anxious. Every threat makes self-preservation instincts kick in harder. The cycle feeds itself. The Iran war is a particularly devastating piece of this picture, and it cannot be understated. Trump ran as the anti-war candidate. He built a core part of his brand around ending forever wars, bringing troops home, refusing to get sucked into foreign conflicts the way previous administrations had. That was a genuine political asset. Then he escalated in Iran, and the consequences were immediate and measurable. Inflation driven by war spending, chaos on the world stage, Republican candidates in competitive districts trying to answer questions about a conflict that their voters did not want and did not support. And Trump cannot admit he made a mistake. He cannot moderate. He cannot adapt. He can only double down and attack everyone who questions him. That rigidity, that absolute inability to recalibrate when the evidence says the current course is failing, is at the core of why Republicans are now seriously thinking about what comes after him. The 2026 elections are going to be the referendum. That is the moment of truth for all of this. If Republicans underperform, if Trump brand candidates lose races they should win, if swing voters reject the direction of the party, if the special election trends hold in general election conditions, then the case for moving on from Trump becomes mathematically undeniable. Then it is not just insiders whispering. Then it is the voters themselves delivering the verdict. And no amount of purging or threatening or raging on social media changes what the vote tallies say. Democrats already understand this. They are going to run ads featuring Republicans criticizing Trump. They are going to highlight every piece of internal GOP conflict. They are going to weaponize this civil war because that is exactly what you do when your opponent is busy fighting themselves. Republicans are going to be spending energy and resources and attention fighting each other instead of fighting their actual electoral opponents. And that is a gift that will pay dividends throughout the entire cycle. The broader truth underneath all of this is something that matters beyond just one election or one political party. What has happened to the Republican Party under Trump is the story of an institution that allowed itself to become a personality cult. Not a party with coherent principles or a governing philosophy or a platform that exists independent of one person's preferences. A vehicle for one man's ambitions, built entirely around loyalty to him and fear of his disapproval. And personality cults are brittle. They look strong right up until they don't. The moment the personality at the center starts showing weakness, starts losing elections, starts bleeding credibility, starts facing defections, the whole structure becomes unstable simultaneously. That is where the Republican Party is right now, and Trump is sensing it. He is sensing the loss of control and responding to it in the only ways he knows how, with more rage, more threats, more demands for absolute loyalty, more extreme purges. And every one of those responses makes the situation worse. Every attack on a Republican who dares question him pushes more Republicans toward the exit. Every loyalty test imposed under threat of political destruction makes more politicians do the math on whether their survival depends on staying tied to him or breaking free. The writing is on the wall, not in invisible ink, in letters large enough that the people inside the Republican Party can read them clearly, even if they are still too afraid to say so at full volume. Trump is losing his grip on his own party. The fracture is real. The civil war is real. The search for an exit strategy is real. And Trump's response to all of it, lashing out, purging, threatening, raging, is not stopping the collapse. It is accelerating it. Something has to give. It always does. The only question is when and how explosive the break turns out to be when it finally comes.